He said the heat between you and Vince right now is a work, and that you really are going to show up at WrestleMania and be on Donald Trump's corner.
That's not true.
Okay.
I've had everybody call me in the world and say that Vince is going to have the big giant Khali in his corner, and that Donald Trump is going to bring Hulk Hogan in, that's an easy fit.
Right.
But right now, that shit ain't going down.
So I was like, if that's a work, that's a hell of a work, because at the end of the day, Hogan even has me believing, his best friend believing, that him and Vince are at odds and there's no way he's going to be at WrestleMania 23.
No, it's just, I guess everything, between, the whole thing, I guess, there's no way to really start this because it's always there. It's that love-hate relationship, whatever it is. I don't know how it went this way for so many years, but I'm loyal to a fault, and if not that the red carpet, I don't need my ass powdered, but if it was just a fair trade back and forth, this thing would have went on forever. But at the end of the day, Vince told me, there's like 12 or 13 or 14 or 8 or 10 it guys, and everybody's just as important, and I can respect that, But, at the end of the day, I kind of like, look at work rate in the ring, and I'm not, up to speed with the Rey Mysterios and the guys that can, gonna go 100 miles an hour, but that's got nothing to do with who works the best. How fast or how much you do.
Isn't the business all about who draws the most money, regardless of how fucking fast you are in the ring? Isn't it who puts asses in the seats? That's what the business has always been about, ain't it?
Thank you. And the business has changed now from just a wrestler to people that, cross media barriers, cross demo areas. And since I've been wrestling 30 years, I got fans that are 70 and 80 years old and kids that are 3 and 4 years old, that watch my show. So, there is this Hulk Hogan character does bring some things to the table that a lot of guys, such as the Haku or Brian Knobs or John Cena, different people may not bring all these things, or they may bring equally. But, Vince is telling me, there's several it guys, and a lot of the things that I calculate my it status on is crowd response, And when I go to a pay-per-view and there's 3 or 4 matches on and it sounds like a funeral, and then I wrestle and it's so loud, like with Randy Orton, that the truth is it was really insane. I'm not going to say my ears were bleeding. It was so loud that it was pretty crazy out there. And then when I hear the main event matches and the tag matches after me and people are leaving the building and
taking a shit.
Yeah, exactly. So all of a sudden, I kind of like got an idea of who one of the it guys is, and I need to see who the other 10 or 11 are I'm splitting all this main event money with, which is cool. If crowd response doesn't matter and people sit in their seats texting and not watching the matches and leaving the building, if none of that shit matters, well, then I guess, the it guys, whoever you point the finger at. So I guess I'm just in the mix. But at the end of the day, if we're going to go recreate WrestleMania, and the hype around 90,000 people and the hype around slamming the giant and the hype around making it a worldwide phenomenon, medium, the momentum-shifting move where everybody in the world across demographically jumps back on the WWE's bandwagon. Hey, I'm in. And if we're going to recreate that excitement, I'm in. But hey, let's also recreate my check too,
Yeah, I think there's a few it guys, but you're it. You're the only wrestler that is a brand.
Every wrestler.
Think about it.
Every wrestler that's ever been interviewed, from The Rock to Ric Flair to Bret Hart to every wrestler says Hulk Hogan is the greatest money-making wrestler ever to be in the business, even if they didn't like Terry.
The Rock was very energetic in the ring, and he had a great gimmick, and he did well. But even The Rock was never a brand.
Well, he had a great 3 or 4 year run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I'm going on 30 years. At the end of the day, I agree there are some it guys there, but I also agree that people bring different things to the table. I've got a serious #1 rated show on another network, which is picked up and continues to be picked up as long as we want, and there are a lot of things that come to the table with this deal, but at the end of the day, I can accept all these it guys that the crowd may not cheer for. They may leave during their matches, or maybe they'll get a louder, pop than me. Haven't heard it yet, but can't wait to hear it. But at the end of the day, if all these guys need to split the money with me, that's cool. I understand that I'm not needed, so bang, I'm gone. So that's where we're at.
Here's the deal, man. 2 things. 2 questions. One, Hogan, was your WrestleMania 3 paycheck the biggest single wrestling paycheck you ever got?
Yes.
2, Vince is, in my opinion, being your best buddy, knowing a lot about things that we can talk about and cannot talk about, Vince is going to continue to shit on you and continue to take advantage of you and try to drub you down and get you for fucking pennies on the dollar until somebody else wants you, like Dixie. And as soon as that happens, watch his demeanor change, because at the end of the day, you and a handful of others, but namely you,
it's the psychology, dude. It's keep the dream alive. Let the monster live. It's like I can, as Vince would say, digress back to the Ultimate Warrior. And at the time, the Ultimate Warrior came in with a neon in the body, and everybody fell in love with him. So, hey, let's switch gears. Let's make him the it guy.
Right.
And they put the belt on him, and then things changed a few months later when they had to put it back on me. But ever since then, no disrespect intended, but there's been an all-out effort to kind of like water the Hulk Hogan character down. And at the end of the day, the fans go, look, we like the guy. He's been with us forever. Let us see him come do his entrance and do the Fred Sanford, and let's have fun with his character.
Yeah.
And, you can beat me all you want, like after The Rock, that I was beaten to death, but the fans still cheer me. You can turn me into a bad guy, the fans still cheer me. So why do we keep going against the grain? But that's cool, It's not my business and not my company, but at the end of the day, if we're going to recreate something we did, 20 years ago and blow the roof off the whole world and make this a huge media event where it's not just a Sunday, then people forget about it on Monday. If it's a Sunday and then people remember it for the whole year, and there's all these 12 or 14 it guys, well, then they don't need me.
Well, how about? I mean, what's the validity of some of these reports that Dixie has been calling Henry Holmes up, and a Hulk Hogan make them the jump over to a TNA deal could really be a shot in the arm for TNA. Would you be interested in doing something like that?
Well, I'm always interested. When he talks bullshit walks, but right now I'm kind of in a neutral holding pattern because I got a couple of little schemes up my sleeve, which I'm probably going to, I got enough incentive right now to get up and strut my own deal, if you know what I'm saying.
Maybe your own wrestling deal?
You never know, brother. I'm getting kind of bored. And it just, I just, that's cool. I'm just sitting here thinking about my next move, but I'm like, just got my knee cut on.
How you doing on that?
Dude, I threw those crutches away the second day after the surgery. All they did was take like a 1-inch piece of bone, about a 1/4 inch wide, out from under my kneecap that was holding me up.
Do you feel better?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm actually walking straight without the limp, and it's Wednesday to Wednesday was a week. So I'm good to go. Shit, I could wrestle right now if I had to.
Well, don't wrestle.
No, it's not that, but it's just I'm bored. Got to do something. Got 3 more new pair of boots being made. Game on.
Is the guy from Arkansas still the B&A guy, or is he still make your boots for you?
I had a guy down here in Miami that's making them for me now.
Really?
Yeah. So game on, ding dong.
What color boots?
Oh shit, they could be partially yellow and partially red.
I'd like to see those boots. I need to go over to your house and get some of those old boots. We need to sell them on eBay.
You need to come over. You need to come over, dog. But anyway, everything's good, man. I just wish I'd have been part of that WrestleMania 23, but it wasn't meant to be. And at the end of the day, everybody has a certain amount of respect that they have to be able to look at themselves in the mirror. And if we were going to recreate WrestleMania 23, I just felt this Hulk Hogan character was really a huge part of it, And for me to accept that I'm just one of the, 8 or 10 it guys, maybe it's ego, maybe it's whatever it is, but I just always in my mind thought WrestleMania 23 was a special occasion for that 20-year passing of the torch. And if it's not as important as, all the other gimmick matches, then that's cool.